Visualization 13.2, parallel circuits. This is actually my favorite part about circuits, and it's really good for students to visualize, and I think this will help them do that. So it actually has students creating their own circuits, checking with the teacher. This would probably be a good group activity. They're first going to set up a simple circuit with one light bulb. Light bulb should turn on, and then they have to draw that diagram. Hopefully you've been practicing diagramming in class, so they can notice how bright the bulb is. Then the challenge for the students is, okay, now you need to add in a light bulb so that both of the bulbs are going to be just as bright. So previously they learned about series circuits, and if you add them in series, they know that it will dim. So hopefully the group can discover that if they add the light bulb in like this, where the circuit's not going through both bulbs in one pathway, but essentially you get two pathways, both bulbs are just as bright as the first bulb was. You notice that if I can take that away, the brightness barely changes. And so then they are going to draw that circuit diagram again. And so this is the idea that kind of will pique students' interest, because you still have the same number of bulbs, but unlike last lab where they would get dim, now they stay bright, which is kind of a cool idea. The lab's going to ask them a bunch of questions, but it does want them to add in a switch into their circuit so they can modify. And so you can see now I'm going to add in one switch here. And so now I have a switch, boom, that's on. Now they're both on. Now they're both off. You know, this works more like a house would work, where you have switches to operate different appliances, different lights and things like that. But you have the master breaker in your basement or wherever it is that turns on the current for everything. And so then that helps students visualize, oh, that's how the rest of stuff is kind of operated, is we have these individual switches for everything. So a lot of questions, and then it jumps into having them measure the voltage and current across their circuit that they've created. This is where you have to check, make sure that they have an appropriate parallel circuit, so that way they can measure everything correctly. Again, when they're using the multimeters, have them measure all the voltages first, then correctly switch this over to amps. And when they're measuring the current, remember to have open switches. I'll go ahead and set it for you, because when you measure these, it needs to have an open switch so that this becomes part of the circuit. If you have a closed switch and you're measuring something, you just create a short circuit. I don't want to do that and blow up a bulb possibly. And so that's way, so I can measure the current going through just this one bulb at 82. If I close that one but open this one, and now I'm getting almost double that when I measure with this switch, because it's going through both. And so they can visualize how the current is going at different parts of the circuit, and that'll be helpful for them to visualize what's going on in a parallel circuit. Pair this with some good videos, demonstrations, your notes over a parallel circuit so they see lots of different options. Talk about how this is how we kind of set up our circuits in our houses, apartments, and all that. So that way, if for example, one bulb goes out, not everything in the house goes out. And so that's the purpose of this. We do use series circuits and simple things, but just not for this. So hopefully they'll enjoy that lab, especially visualizing how the different pathways. You can even introduce a third bulb, ask your students what's going to happen when I add this in. And it's like, hey, they're all still really bright. They can kind of see it flicker when you add it on. You are changing the resistance a little bit, so it will affect it slightly. But for the most part, it stays at the same brightness because they're all getting the full voltage of the batteries. So that is one thing to note. When you're in a parallel circuit, your batteries are going to drain much faster than in a series. So that is one thing to keep in mind when you're creating these circuits. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that, and we are on to the next lab. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.